Hi everyone, this is Cindy Soto, your certified health educator from the Hippocrates Health Institute and the author of the guide, How to Get the Most Out of the Program. I'm joined here by my husband Pedro, who is one of the health educator instructors for the Institute. Today we're interviewing Dr. Brian Clement, the world's leading expert in raw food nutrition. As director of Hippocrates Health Institute for over 35 years, he has gained his vast knowledge from experience. Before we go to Dr. Clement, I want you to be aware of a great opportunity for you or a loved one to do the 3-week Life Change program with us as part of a group. In addition to saving hundreds of dollars, you get some other great benefits. For more details, please visit www.hippocratesgroupsavings.com. We have groups scheduled for the rest of this year. For the exact dates, visit www.hippocratesgroupsavings.com. Now let's get to the questions with Dr. Brian. Giselle wants to know, she says, I need to understand more about probiotics. Why are they so important?
Well, this is an emerging science. I mean, back in the old days when I began this, and certainly well before I knew what health food was, they understood acidophilus. And still the term is thrown around a lot. And acidophilus, we discovered later, was one of many bacillus or bacteria that are contained in the large intestine. Now, there was a colleague of mine, Dr. Rondeau, who in Santa Barbara, California, and in Los Angeles, started to observe autopsies. And just a little under 300, he asked if he could scrape the gastrointestinal tract and went into his laboratories and then tested the bacteria. And back about 30-some years ago, realized that there was a commonality, man, woman, old, young, no matter where you are from the world, of certain fractional combinations and formulas of probiotics, good bacteria, that's all that term means, in everyone's gastrointestinal tract, went into a laboratory and created a vegan form of those bacteria, culturing them on top of yeast. And that was the very first good product that came out. It was called Dr. Dophilus. Sadly, he wasn't a good doctor businessman, so that company went to the wayside, but God bless him, he left everyone else with a lot of technology. Then about 30 years ago, people started to say, well, gee, these bacteria are wonderful, but what is the origin of these bacteria? Where did they originally come from? And they finally realized that all of it comes from soil. And just as an offshoot, but as an example, when we discovered vitamin B12, we put it under the B category. It's really not a B vitamin. What B12 is a probiotic. It's a bacteria that originates in soil. But all probiotics, all good bacteria comes from soil. So then we started to add SOD, or soil-based organisms. And sometimes, as the product that we have here has soil-based as well as some of the other combined, so we get a full spectrum multitude of bacteria. Now, why are these important? In your gastrointestinal tract, it is the epicenter, the creator, we may say, of the immune system activity. Your immune system is what allows you to slowly age, not rapidly age, allows you to prevent disease and eliminate disease. Your immune system is your best friend. You may not know that. And most of us haven't been treating our best friend very well. We've been beating it up and abusing it our whole life with bad diet and all the other things I said, and equally important, negative emotions. But let's imagine that you weren't all of that, or now you're enlightened or frightened and you're going to be well. You're going to have to think first and foremost about your immune system, and the way your immune system truly functions is through good bacteria in the intestinal tract. In recent years, with quantum biology, we also understand that up to 40% of our bodies may be active bacteria by weight. We're talking about every time we're weighed, we think of ourselves as flesh and bones. We don't think of ourselves as microbes called bacteria, but the quantum biologists now, who are looking much deeper beyond the cell, start to realize that possibly even the evolutionary process occurred because of morphing and mutating bacteria. And that is how we've had different species, and we look different, and we act different, and we feel different in people in different parts of the world, and it's the bacteria that are inherently in that geographic environment. So keeping the balance of up to 40% of your weight and body of bacteria requires healthy bacteria in the intestinal tract. Every once in a while, we all have had an unpleasant experience or observed somebody else where we get diarrhea. That's a perfect example of when you have an out-of-balance bacteria. We have more bad bacteria than good bacteria. And some of us have always in our entire life had more bad bacteria than good bacteria, even if we're not manifesting diarrhea, which is a severe extreme case of it. We're having a problem with immune function. I can't think of anything more important. As a matter of fact, the two areas that mainstream pharmaceuticals are spending a lot of money on researching now are probiotics and enzymes, something we've been talking about for half a century.
Thank you. Carrie wants to know the following. She's been raw for about 3 months, 100%, and was on a very strict Candida diet for 2.5 years before that. Now, she understands that the body releases the mucoid lining of the intestinal tract after being raw, and that it leads to a better absorption of foods and nourishment. Now, how long can one expect this to take, and are there things that prevent or accelerate it?
Yeah, well, number one, Candida, we better be sure you have it, because I can tell you this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see even the best natural doctors make. When people have certain symptoms that are lethargic and feeling bad and maybe eyes are itchy or vaginal discharge or lots of gas, often it's an easy scenario to say you have Candida. Over the decades, we've been noticing that when we do really good medical blood tests on Candida, we find that 6 or 7 out of 10 people that are told they have it really do not have it. Unfortunately, in a lot of their cases, they have chronic fatigue syndrome or other forms of yeast or fungi in their body. Now, Candida is a natural occurring fungi that's everywhere on the planet. If you're in Arizona in the desert, you have less than you do in drippy and humid places and cold places. But all of our bodies have easily and successfully kept it out of our body at any significant level until recent years. Now, why is Candida, quote, becoming a disorder today where it really wasn't 50 or 70 years ago? Because our immune systems have all become weakened. So before this natural occurring fungus literally was protecting us on the exterior environment because it was part of the environmental ecosystem out there, and very little to none came into us other than what we may have breathed in or taken in through our skin. Now, because our immune systems are weak, we have no way to prevent it from coming in, and if you have enough of it and eat enough sugar and eat enough yeast, then you perpetuate it, and before you know it, it takes you over. In one of the books I wrote about 20-some years ago, I described Candida in its truest sense as being like a cave. Now, a cave has life forms in it, but they're counterproductive to you. If any healthy human being went into a cave and stayed there long enough, you'd end up infected. And so that's what you've got to think. You've got this cave in your body. Now, how do caves get clean? Oxygen and sunshine. So we can't open up your body with a zipper and put oxygen and sunshine in. What we need to do is we need to get those things in you that have a lot of oxygen and sunshine. Chlorophyll, fresh green juice, fresh wheatgrass juice. And what we need to also know is that things like the algae give you chlorophyll. You can also take supplemental oxygens, stabilized oxygens, which are literally things like cell food in a lot of the European countries and also in the United States and Canada. But there are other stabilized oxygens if you're in parts of the world that you can purchase. There are other products that we use specific to wiping out and killing Candida. But most important, and I've left this for last, if you're eating any form of sugar, you're not going to get rid of Candida. If you're taking carrot juice or beet juice or fruits of any type or fruit juices, you're not going to get rid of Candida. Because, yes, sugars feed viruses and cancers and mold and yeast, but boy, do they like to feed Candida. When we've looked at this in vitro on Petri dishes with microscopes, it's like giving gasoline to fire. That's what you see, the multiplication of the Candida going throughout the body. So that you've got to starve out of the body, stay away from the yeast, stay away from the sugar, do the things we suggested, get the sunshine in your body and the oxygen in your body with chlorophyll, fresh chlorophyll-rich drinks and foods.